Does belief come first or does action? Everybody knows that all the successful people in the world have very strong belief, at least in their own abilities to succeed, right? That's the first key to success, as you would be told, or as they would have you believe. My question is belief a byproduct of success, or is belief necessary to succeed in the first place? That's my question. That's what I would like to know. And I have some opinions about it, which I'm going to share with you. Well, belief, I think, does not come first. Okay? In fact, it's a lack of belief that largely leads to low self-esteem and then people, you know, not taking any action at all. And if you have belief, if you believe in something, then acting on it becomes infinitely easier. That's, of course, a given. The question is, what do you do when you are just starting out, when you don't really have a lot of belief, a lot of confidence? I have gray hair. Damn, I'm getting old. What do you do when you don't have that belief? What do you do when you're just getting started, when belief is a far cry? Do you think yourself into believing? What do you do? I mean, do you chant yourself into believing? I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. Nah. What do you do when you're just getting started? What do you do when you're not, let's just say, in store of an abundance of belief? What do you do then? And that's a question that anyone is going to struggle with. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, it's because you're not taking the right steps. You're not implementing the right processes or the systems, or you're not taking the right action, right? And the reason why most people don't take action is not because they're lazy or they don't have any goals. At least they do have dreams, right? So why do most people not take any action? Well, it's because largely because they don't believe that they can succeed. Yeah, they don't believe they can succeed. So what do you do? If belief comes from succeeding or watching someone else succeed, hint, hint, that's basically a tip for you. But if belief comes from, if you can look at someone else who's successful, and then based on that, you can believe that you too can be successful because that guy is such a doofus. So you, obviously, it should be easier for you, right? That's one way of getting that. But the easiest way of getting belief or solidifying your belief is succeeding, even if it's a minor success. And but here's the thing: if you don't have belief, you're not going to take action. If you don't take action, you're not going to have success. Hence, the negative loop continues. The negative momentum loop continues. So, what do you do? What do you do when you have nothing going on for you? I'll tell you what you do. I think you sit down and you analyze one, two, three, five, maybe 10, 20 people, as many people as you can find who basically have achieved whatever it is that you are trying to achieve. Okay. You start, that's your first step. You find out who it is, who has the kind of success that you want. And then you start looking at what it is that they do. Okay. The action steps. Belief's got nothing to do with results, by the way. The only way in which belief contributes to results is that you take action like a pro without doubting yourself. And even if you have self doubt, you have momentum going on so you can overcome that doubt. But here's the thing, it's the momentum that gets things done, it's habits that get things done. Pardon me. So, what do you do when you have no belief? Well, you sit down, you compile a list of actions, A list of processes, really repeatable actions, things you can do on a daily basis, not one thing that you can do, but one thing that you can do on a daily basis. For instance, if you want to become a writer, what you can do is you can sit down for 1 hour and write every day. And by the way, let me tell you something. If you sit down to write something and if there's a blank screen with a cursor, blinking at you or basically staring at you going, hey, what do you got? Huh? Nothing? Huh? Really? Even today? Nothing? Well, that's intimidating, but I'll tell you what, you've got some thoughts going on, even if they're chaotic. If you want to become a good writer, just sit down and start writing. If you want to become a good talker, sit down and start rambling. Turn on your camera and start rambling, which is kind of what I did today. And you eventually get around to a point. You get around to making a point after you've coughed and basically vomited out or puked out all your all your all your mental garbage, if you will. So what do you do once you have a list of actions or a system or a template that you can follow in a repeated way? Well, you use your willpower, okay? And willpower comes from certain things, but basically it comes from general well-being, right? Willpower is like a resource that gets depleted throughout the day, and then when you sleep, you get a good night's rest. Your willpower, if you will, container, right, right here in prefrontal on your right here inside your prefrontal cortex, your human brain, which is what differentiates us from animals or mammals or reptiles, right? You use that and you restore your willpower overnight. But here's how you increase the size of your willpower container, which is your prefrontal cortex. A, you exercise. Working out is scientifically proven to help you increase your workout. B, good sex. C, good food. Self explanatory. Basically, this is good lifestyle. D, good sleep. Very, very important. If you're not getting a certain number of deep sleep hours each night, then you're not going to be able to restore your willpower as much as someone else you could have if you could get the right amount of sleep. Deep sleep, right? Not shallow sleep. So make sure you invest in a quality mattress, by the way, because if you don't, and we link to some quality mattresses down below on Amazon that you can check out. I'm going to link to the one that I use. It's a little bit expensive. By the way, speaking of comfort, I spend a lot of time sitting in a chair every day. So this is a Herman Miller Aeron chair, a very comfortable chair. It's expensive, at around $1,000, less than $1,000, little less than $1,000, but it's totally worth it. I spend 6, 7, 8 hours some days sitting in this chair, and at least the ergonomics are good enough that I don't break my back, right? And you can lock it up, by the way, in a tight position like this. I should do it like this. Yeah, this is a good position for me. Okay, so ergonomics. So comfort is important. If you're uncomfortable, your willpower gets depleted quickly, which is why I invested in this chair, which by the way comes with a 12-year warranty. And I'm not being paid by Herman Miller to say all these good things about them, but this is a really good chair. Okay. So it does come with a 12-year warranty, so I'm basically covered for the next decade, longer than that. And that is one very good reason to invest in a high quality chair. Now, uh, so yeah, so you've got good food, good sex, good sleep, and you've got exercise. And finally, the fifth thing that might surprise you is meditation. 15 minutes of guided or unguided meditation every day can scientifically prove, is scientifically proven, and you can prove this yourself empirically as well, to increase the density of your prefrontal cortex, which is your willpower reservoir. So if you go today to a doctor and try to get an MRI and look at the density of your prefrontal cortex, by the way, this is not something I did. This is something that Dr. Kelly McGonigal says in her book, in her best-selling book, Willpower Instinct. Links again in description below. You can check it out on Amazon. So if you try to, yeah, so what she says is, if you work if you meditate every day for as little as 15 days and you do that consistently, then in as few as 2 months basically, physically, the structure of your prefrontal cortex changes and it densens up, or the density increases, which means you have a greater reservoir, and that means your willpower doesn't get depleted quite that quickly. So, once you have that willpower cultivated, going back to the original idea, once you have that willpower, once you have a series of things that you need to do, you don't need to believe in it. You just need to apply your willpower and get those things done. Okay. You and once you start getting this done in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks, those things become habitual if you're doing them on a daily basis. And then if you stop doing them, it starts feeling weird. So because you've gotten habitual about doing them or getting them done. So yeah, definitely do that. And what happens is over the next 3 to 4 weeks, you build out this habit, and then it requires less and less, and eventually almost none of your willpower to get it done. It's kind of like going to the gym. Use your willpower in the beginning, but then once you start working out regularly, it becomes a habit. And then if you stop going to the gym for a couple of days, it starts feeling weird. You start feeling weird, right? So now you have inculcated those processes in your life in the form of habits, and habits always form destiny. Now it's basically a matter of continuing and sticking to the path and basically making micro adjustments every now and then, but you already have momentum going and you should already be getting some results, at least some results, right? At least results that you can internally feel, even if those results are not yet external or more tangible, right? Those might take a little longer to come. But now you just stick to your routine, and within a few months, you start getting good at whatever it is that you were trying to do, and your belief becomes stronger, your confidence grows. That is because of the micro successes you have, and you start getting successes. So it becomes a positive momentum loop. So the idea is to use your willpower, cultivate your willpower first, and then use your willpower, and then compile a series of things that you need to do or a ritual that you need to follow on a daily basis, and then to just do it. By the way, a 2 hour ritual is what Jerry Seinfeld says made him the richest, I guess, person in Hollywood altogether, or any film fraternity worldwide. He's the richest man in the industry, in the global movie making industry or global media industry. And here's his ritual: he sits down every day and he writes a joke. That's it. Good, bad, doesn't matter. He'll write a joke, he'll try out his new jokes in front of new audiences, and that's about it. It gets it done. So once you get it done, once you get into the routine of doing something regularly, it becomes a habit. Once something becomes a habit, it's only a matter of time before you start achieving results. By the way, something a decent or a moderately okay, a well designed plan, right? It doesn't have to be the most stellar business plan in the world if you're talking about business. It doesn't have to be the most complicated or sophisticated study plan if you're a student. Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, it doesn't have to be the most complicated workout routine. I can tell you that. I mean, I used to be really fat, and I'm not that fat. I mean, you can check me out. Okay, not that fat. I used to be very fat, very fat. So it doesn't have to be complicated, and it may not look like it, but I can basically bench press over 120 kilos, and I can squat with 180 and deadlift more than 220, 230, even 235 on good days these days. It's constantly increasing, and the only thing I've got going in my favor is a simple system. Twice a week workout, and you've got bench presses, you've got squats, you've got deadlifts, you've got overhead presses, right? The shoulder presses, all with an Olympic barbell. Every time I try to push myself to the limit by adding another 2.5 kilos to the entire system. And over the last 5 years, I've gone from basically not being able to lift any weights at all, because the first time I stepped into the gym, it was embarrassing because I couldn't lift. I mean, I tried to do some bench presses on the adult bench. I wasn't an adult. I mean, I was 23, 22, 23 years old by then. So I was an adult, but I couldn't do anything beyond kiddie weights. Okay, it was embarrassing at that point of time, but it's not embarrassing any longer. And in retrospect, Yeah, it was embarrassing only for me. Other people probably just had admiration that, at least this guy is trying to get something done, get something going for himself. Far better than you're way ahead of the curve when you start building habits. Okay. In fact, build a certain number of right habits and you're basically gold for life. So, do you need belief? Yeah, it'd be nice to have. It's a nice luxury to have, but it's a byproduct. Okay. It's not something that comes by chanting or just wanting it. If you want to believe in something, guess what? If you want something, you don't already have it. That's why you want it. If you have something, you don't want it. You have it. You got it. What do you need to want it for? So if you want to have belief, if you want to believe in something, if you want to have confidence, well, guess what? You don't have it. Accept it, move on. Do the next best thing. I mean, I'd rather believe that I'm a billionaire, but believing won't make it so. Even if I could believe that I'm a billionaire, it still would not make it so, because the reality is contradicting whatever it is that I'm trying to believe in. So if you're trying to believe in anything that doesn't match up with your reality or doesn't align with your reality, then it's a fool's errand. It's folly. What you should be doing instead is fuck the belief, okay? Fuck whatever it is that you believe in. Belief systems are going to get moderated or even replaced by newer belief systems over time anyway when you take action. What you need to be doing is you need to be taking action, and you need to be taking action consistently and regularly. And what you need for that is willpower, not belief. Belief would be nice, but you know, not going to get you anywhere. Action's going to get you somewhere. And pick battles that you can win, not battles that you can't win. Okay? Because the force of compound, here's the thing, most people underestimate what they can achieve in a decade or two, but vastly, grossly overestimate what they can do over the next 1 or 2 or 3 years. So you're probably overestimating what you can achieve by next year, which is why New Year resolutions suck. What really matters is building a habit and then just following it. So this is one discussion I keep having with my mother. I tell her, "Look, mom," and she had a very low-paying job, very very low-paying job, right? She started working in 1980. I tell her, if you had taken 20% of your monthly salary each month, right, whatever you got, cash on hand, if you had taken 20% of that and invested it in gold or put that in gold, well, guess what? Gold is grossly underpriced right now, but it'd still be worth $4 or $5 million. And I've shown her those calculations. Uh, it's been a long, stellar career, right? She's almost 60 years old now. She's 57, so yeah, that's 37 years of compounding working in your favor. So don't expect overnight success, because expecting or believing won't make it happen for you. What you should be expecting is from yourself to use your willpower to build out habits that, when compounded over a long enough time scale, can result in very, very sweet outcomes. So that's it. That's it for this issue. My name is Laksh Bell. Thank you for watching this video. And if you like this video, hit like. If you didn't like this video, well, whatever. And yeah, leave a comment if you got a comment, if you got a question that we can address in another video.